It was our first pregnancy, and Colin and I were excited to go to our first 12-week scan. But the scan didn't go as planned. We couldn't find a heartbeat, our baby wasn't alive, and I would inevitably miscarry. Our baby had stopped growing at 8 weeks. It was a very bitter pill to swallow. A week later, I miscarried naturally. After hours of contractions, I passed an effusive amount of blood, all sorts of tissues, and the sac with my little baby too. We called him Andrew. 6 months later, we were pregnant again. And I really wanted to be pregnant, but at the same time, I was really scared. So I booked a 6, 8, and 10-week scan. At the 6-week scan, just about 22 days after conception, I heard our second son's heartbeat. Hearing that beautiful noise was confirmation enough that our Harvey was alive. The pregnancy continued as normal. At 7 months, we had what would have been our final scan. Ironically, it was the only scan I wasn't anxious about, because I had felt Harvey move so energetically in my womb from about 22 weeks. I lay there as the sonographer carried out what I thought were her usual 30-week checks. Then she turned to me and said, "Your baby seems to be too small for his age." She explained that there was resistance in the blood flow to Harvey in my placenta. I have tried to go back to that moment in my memory, but most of it is a blur. I do remember a few things, though. I remember feeling physically sick at hearing the news. I remember feeling terrified. I'm not a biologist, but I knew that restricting blood flow to a baby was never a good thing. I remember researching science journals at night and reading the list of potential complications, which included development delays, brain damage, and stillbirths. The list was so painful, I literally had to stop reading. I remember crying to the midwife and asking her if my baby was going to be okay. And she turned to me and said, "I cannot guarantee that to you or to any other person who walks into our ward." I remember being injected with steroids to catalyze Harvey's lung development. 2 days later, I was admitted into the specialist hospital in Cádiz. Our routine was the same every day. At night, I would fast, and in the morning, prep for surgery. The doctor would scan me to assess the level of blood flow to different parts of Harvey. The doctor would check the flow because my body was completely unaware of the dangers posed to the life inside. So it was up to the doctor to decide when the risk of keeping him inside outweighed the benefits. The daily scans lasted for more than 30 minutes, so we saw Harvey get up to all kinds of mischief. We saw him yawn, we saw him rest his hand beside his ear, we saw him with hiccups, we saw him practice breathing, we saw que era un nervio, and he still is. 10 days after being admitted to the specialist hospital, I walked into the doctor's clinic, and after his in-depth scan, he said, "Hoy es tu día." How I would love to say that the day Harvey was born was the best day of my life. It was categorically the worst day. I wouldn't say I gave birth to him because, frankly, I had never planned to deliver him 2 months early. Unlike when I miscarried with Andrew, I didn't have one contraction, my waters never broke. I could have walked myself onto the surgical table. I lay there on the table in fear because I didn't know what a 7-month human fetus looked like. I didn't know if he would seem alien to me. I didn't know if he would be able to survive outside the womb so premature. I didn't even know if to expect him to cry. A few minutes into the C-section, Harvey was literally brought into the outside world, and he cried. His lungs filled with oxygen, and he cried. The pediatrician brought him to me, and he didn't look alien. He looked like one of us, because he was one of us. A skinny 3-pound one of us, but one of us nonetheless. This is Harvey just 10 minutes after being born. One could say this is a video of an unviable child. He was unable to regulate his own body temperature, unable to breathe fully on his own, unable to coordinate his breathing and sucking to the point that he had to be fed via a feeding tube. However, no one can deny that this is also a video of a living human being. From that moment on, I plummeted into a world I knew very little about. A world I have dubbed the preemie experience. This world has been both traumatic and an absolute privilege. That same day, I received floods on congratulations on being a mother. I found it an odd thing to say to me. Firstly, I couldn't see much success in my situation. I didn't want to have Harvey at 7 months. Harvey was receiving all kinds of treatments, and I didn't know if he would be okay. Secondly, I didn't feel that Harvey's birth made me a mom. Harvey had been my child already for 7 months, and I, his mother. The only thing that had changed from pre-C-section to post-C-section was his geographical location. He was relocated from the natural womb to a clinical womb in the form of an incubator. Another day, I remember crying to the nurse because my baby was sick. And she turned to me and said, "Your son is not sick. He is doing exactly what someone his age should be doing. He isn't supposed to be able to feed from a bottle. That's like asking a newborn baby to walk." That comment changed my perspective. I actually found myself staring at Harvey in awe and watching the miracle of the early development of the human species unfold before my eyes. Indeed, in many ways, I was honored to have a front row seat. I met countless other premature babies or preemies and their parents. There was Riley, born at 34 weeks, twins Leon and Owen at 27, Ryan at 26 weeks, Harley Faith at 24, and I was told about Amelia, born at 21 weeks. If you've ever met a preemie parent, you'll find that they all refer to their children as fighters. But how can it be that every premature baby is a fighter? I have come to the conclusion that to be a fighter is to be human and alive. It must be that the instinct to survive is one of our most primitive ones. After all, these preemies are one of us. During those 7 weeks with Harvey at the hospital, I must have seen dozens of premature babies fight to survive. And in the background to all of this was the abortion debate in Gibraltar. I actually watched the GBC debate on my hospital bed. I found the notion of purposely terminating the lives of unborn children perplexing. And during those countless hours in the hospital, I tried to make sense of it all. It was so clear to me that the life inside the womb was a human life, and so it's bizarre that we do not give the person in the womb, who is one of us, the same rights to life afforded to the rest of us. Looking at the science, we know that the fetus is a human one, because he or she would have had human parents. Therefore, by definition, the being in the womb is a human being. We also know if the child is alive, we can hear their heartbeat, we can measure their growth. So, my question to you is, who gets human rights? Isn't the necessary criteria simply to be human? In the Universal Declaration of Human Rights, it states all members of the human family have the right to life. Accordingly, you just need to be human to get that right. Therefore, doesn't it follow that the human child in the womb, who we know to be a living human being, should also enjoy those same rights? As someone who believes in equality, I think it's only right and fair to extend the right to life to the human child in the womb as well. From this basis, I cannot justify the aborting, the terminating, the deliberate destruction, whatever you want to call it, of the unborn child, of one of us. In carrying out an abortion, we are denying these humans one of their fundamental rights, their right to life. Another UN document I want to share with you is the Declaration of Rights of the Child, where it states that the child, by reason of his physical and mental immaturity, needs special safeguards and care, including appropriate legal protection before as well as after birth. Note the before. But during the abortion debate, individuals who supported the pro-choice campaign took various stances on the point or circumstance at which we should recognize and protect the human life in the womb. For me, I looked at the science, and that's why I'm pro-life. Any embryologist, doctor, biologist, or human scientist will confirm that human life starts at conception. I know few try to contest this, but it can be likened to Trump denying global warming despite all the science and all the evidence. However, the pro-choice argument tries to find another start line, different and later to what science tells us. I see this as a very dangerous game to play. My question to you is, where do we draw the line? Do we draw the line at Riley? At the twins? At Ryan? At Harley Faith? At Amelia? At Andrew? Bear in mind, everyone in this room was here when your life started. It is usually argued that this start line should be based on a certain age or development stage, despite the fact that the Declaration of Human Rights states no such conditions. However, some say we should respect human life when it's viable. I say, why? If I become unviable, maybe I need help breathing. Would it be okay to end my life then? No. Some say we should respect human life when they are sentient, when they can perceive their environment and feel emotions such as pain. I say, why? If I become insentient, maybe I have a car accident and I'm temporarily unconscious. Would it be okay to end my life then? No. But most importantly, if you look at the science, there's actually no evidence that the human fetus lacks awareness. This is why it is standard procedure to anesthetize a fetus during open fetal procedures. Some say we should respect human life when it's free of disabilities. I say, why? Why is it that an unborn child with a disability is worth less than an unborn child who doesn't have one? What message are we sending our friends and family who have disabilities? Do you see the inequality? Most worryingly, do you see how a human child in the womb could have no right to life if the mother chooses so? However, a newborn child or an unborn child just 1 day older could actually be protected by law and have human rights. Do you see the inequality here based purely on being a certain age or being a certain way? This flies in the face of human rights doctrine. That being said, I'm not blinded to the fact that there are crisis pregnancies where women feel they have no other option but to abort their children, their unborn child. And believe me, I get it. I get why women in some circumstances consider abortions. Situations of pregnant women in abusive relationships or on the poverty line, teen pregnancies or pregnancies from rape, all very painful and scary situations. But let me ask you this. Is it fair, even in these circumstances, to give an innocent child the death penalty? When women abort their children because they feel they have no other option, I say shame on us. Shame on us for not being there for these women and their children. We fail as a supportive and cohesive society when women in desperate situations terminate the lives of their unborn children for socio-economic reasons. She is one of us, and her child is one of us. I see the pregnant mother in that abusive relationship, and I see the abusive relationship as the problem, not the child. So where were we? Where were we when this mother started showing signs of being in an abusive relationship? Where was our community when this mother needed a safe and appropriate shelter for her and her child? Where was the financial and emotional support she needed to bring her beautiful baby into the world? In the same way that I do not think abortion is a solution, I do not think only banning an abortion is the solution either. We have a lot to do in Gibraltar. Gibraltar, with its long history of record-high budget surpluses, is uniquely positioned to reduce the amount of and support women through and after crisis pregnancies, from providing full education on women's fertility window and contraceptive options, to providing housing, financial and emotional support to a mother in a crisis. During the debate, "It's my body and it's my choice" sounded empowering. Others said, "I wouldn't have an abortion myself, but I believe women should have the choice." And as a woman, I was almost inclined to agree. But when I really thought about it, I realized these concepts were fundamentally flawed. Choice of what? You see, when my choice harms another person, that's not okay. When my choice rids another person of their fundamental human rights, that's not okay. I cannot choose to drink and drive because I can ruin someone else's life. I cannot choose not to put my son's seatbelt on because he would hurt himself if I didn't. In fact, I cannot even choose to play music past 11 p.m. So who are we as mothers, anyone to choose if our children have the right to life? At the foundation of an orderly society are laws that protects its people from the choice of others that could cause harm. And in its term, its people, it's only right that we include the most vulnerable of us, the unborn child, small and quiet, but with a heartbeat, just like one of us. The Gibraltar I would like to see is a truly inclusive one which values all persons, including those small persons in the womb. This is a photo of a human being with no rights in some countries. However, in Gibraltar, this child does have the right to life, and I'm proud to say that. After all, he or she is one of us.